At that news conference as Aaron Coogan is learning more about the victims. We want to get right to Leanna. And Leanna, you asked some tough questions during that news conference, but this was a stunner.
Yeah, Dan, Patrice, a major development out of Providence tonight as investigators say new evidence has changed the direction of the case, prompting the release of the person of interest. The focus now is on obviously finding that suspect and any more additional footage. Now, investigators say surveillance video that was released last night remains their strongest visual lead in this case. Police confirmed the person seen in that video is still the person they're looking for, but acknowledge there is very limited usable footage from inside the Brown building itself. Authorities say dozens of cameras have already been reviewed, but so far none have produced any actionable evidence. Chief Perez confirmed it was a tip that led to the detention and now release of a person of interest. Providence Police Chief Oscar Perez addressing concerns about that decision.
I want to make sure that we all understand that this was a very complex investigation, and it still is. So in the sense, we followed on a lead, and we followed on the specific lead, but we were able to examine every single evidence that led us to this individual. And at that point, that's how investigations work. Investigations will tell us whether something is valid or not, whether something needs to be ruled out. It's not a mistake. It's just how investigations work. And our responsibility is to make sure that we conduct the proper investigations. When I saw you all earlier.
Now, Patrice, you mentioned it at the top of the show, Mayor Smiley confirming that he will not be moving forward with another shelter in place, citing no new credible threats. However, he did say that there would be increased police presence both on the Brown University campus and the surrounding area. Live in Providence, Leanna Falk, NBC 10 News, Night Team.
As Abby mentioned, that person of interest in custody, Major David Payton from Providence Police telling me, confirming that that person was taken into custody at a hotel in Coventry, the Hampton Inn at center of New England, around 3:45 this morning. ABC News reporting from sources the person was found with 2 guns. Again, they're calling him a person of interest at this point. Careful not to use the word suspect as the investigation continues and they continue to gather evidence and work with prosecutors. Stay with NBC 10 for the newest information, the latest throughout the day here on NBC 10 and of course on turnto10.com.
First video that we're showing you. This is the individual walking. It's on the sidewalk of Benevolent. And this is prior to the incident. Here we go again with is this video too, Mike? Again, you see him walking. Move on to the third video. Move on to, this is some photos of this individual. And they will all be time-stamped. The last photo. Thank you. So we'll be providing this as well, and I ask you all to please make sure you put them up, and then anybody in the public that has any info about this individual, we ask that you call our tip line, and we'll also have the numbers in the website listed. Mayor? Thank you.
Right now, security ramped up around the world for Hanukkah events after a deadly terrorist attack during a celebration on the holiday in Australia. Meantime, here at home, police now say they had the wrong guy when they arrested a person of interest in a deadly shooting at Brown University. Investigators say the suspect's weapon had a unique characteristic, and witnesses say the killer shouted something before busting in a final exam review session. Joining in this morning and to discuss this is retired FBI Special Agent in Charge and former head of the Chicago PD, Jody Weiss. Jody, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Officials, at Brown University have been very cagey, as we know. And now, there's concerns about what we're seeing and hearing, given that there's a killer out there somewhere, and they've already released this person of interest. What do you make of the investigation so far?
Yeah, I think the threat is very real. They've got to be a bit nervous after claiming that we have the person And then all of a sudden that doesn't pan out. But you do have to understand, Jan, that these situations are very fluid. There'll be leads will come in, they'll be investigated, some will flesh out, some might lead to more investigation. But I think on this time it would be helpful if authorities would not release how they caught the person based on geofencing and cell data. So we just got to slow it down a little bit and wait for the facts to really come in. But they got to catch this guy. This is a major threat.
Brown University is called Surveillance U for a reason because they have some 800 cameras watching students all over campus all the time. Yet they release this video of someone from behind walking out of an academic building. And they still believe this is the guy, but they can't trace where he went. Do you find this a bit odd that they're not showing better video than just someone walking and the back profile of this person?
Yeah, I think we get greedy for information right away. We have to keep in mind there were 9 survivors to this attack, maybe more people in the room. I'm sure they have eyewitness identification that will help give to that description, but it's always a balance, Jan. If you put out too much information, you're going to be tipping off this subject or also perhaps compromising the investigation. So it's kind of a decision all the time how much to release. But if this is their guy, with all the cameras around that university, and I checked, I think there's over 800. It works out to be 1 camera for every 9 undergrads. So with all the cameras in that area, I've got to believe, fingers crossed, that they picked him up going away. And also gait analysis has been very useful. Take me, for example. I've got some deterioration in my right knee. My right leg is effectively shorter than my left. So every time I walk, there's a little bit of a limp. So you could pick me out from a crowd very easy. So I'm sure they're looking really hard for this guy. And I think there's more things that they have not shared with us right now.
I think you made a good point, though. There are still eyewitnesses who saw this person, but also who heard him. And there is some speculation online that what he shouted was Allahu Akbar before he opened fire. Why aren't they releasing more information about this, do you think?
Well, I think part of it is because I don't think any of the eyewitnesses have actually come forward, or at least it's been released that he said that. They said he said something indiscernible. Now, there's been reports that it was Allah Akbar. We just don't know yet. You could speculate, say we want to keep it out of that political realm. We don't want to say it could be terrorism. But we don't know the motive yet, Jan. Until they get more information, we don't know what this was. So you just kind of have to sit back and not speculate, but wait for the facts to come in.
Did you find it odd they initially said from the bounce it was some suspect in his 30s?
Yeah, I mean, especially when they haven't released any photos. And I heard that the individual was wearing a mask. So I'm not sure how that came about, which leads me to believe there's additional information out there they're not sharing because they don't want to tip off the individual or compromise the investigation. Yeah, but I don't see how you make a call of someone in their 30s with the limited information that we've been shared with so far.
Some law enforcement say you can't ignore the terrorist attack on Bondi Beach in Australia during the first night of Hanukkah is perhaps part of a larger operation by Islamic extremists. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen such global anti-Semitism as we're seeing today in my lifetime. It's remarkable. And I think authorities have to always be aware. Could this be part of a large organization? One of the first things they're going to be doing that they've looked all through the digital footprints of these 2 individuals and see, is there any connection to a large organization? But right now, Jewish facilities and organizations have to be so on alert. An organization that I've worked with before, Secure Community Network, private organization funded and found by the Jewish community, but they are fantastic at getting information out, partnering with law enforcement, and they've disseminated numerous security measures to put in place right now to keep all of the Jewish facilities safe. So it's a team effort on this one because, like I've said, I've never seen anti-Semitism today like in the past. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. It is despicable. It's outrageous. And I got to ask you, in Australia, there is reports that these shooters were able to actually empty and reload their magazine. So there was some 20 minutes, perhaps, given some calculations, before police were able to even take them down and stop this. I mean, it was almost like they couldn't handle a crisis there. What did you make of this that happened in Australia?
Yeah, well, first off, the thing with Australia is the public has basically been disarmed. And you're always going to have that lag time. How far away was the nearest police station to this event? Was there any security in place? It didn't seem like it, but 20 minutes is outrageous. If you get a report of an active shooter, 20 minutes, that's just unacceptable. They can reload shotguns. Thank God for that hero that attacked that individual. What an amazing man he was. Unbelievable. But yeah, Jan, 20 minutes is just unacceptable. I think that goes to Netanyahu's position. The Australian government was not prepared for this.
It goes to your point, too. It is a country that has disarmed its residents as well. So police aren't used to seeing something like this. All right. Retired FBI Special Agent in Charge and former head of the Chicago PD, Jody Weiss. Always great to have you, sir. Thanks for joining us this morning.
You too, Jan. Merry Christmas.
You too.
President, with all due respect, 6 hours after the shooting, and you said you don't know what was going on in that classroom? How does that happen? Were they taking an exam? Were they meeting for a club?
I don't know. I don't know.
6 hours later, and you're the president, and you don't know?
I do not know.
Well, that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, some alarming answers from officials in the investigation there at Brown University, and the manhunt right now continuing for the killer who is still out there. Overnight, police did release a person of interest saying they had the wrong guy as the FBI now opens up tip lines. Joining us this morning to discuss is our very own Washington insider, Armstrong Williams. Armstrong, good morning to you. What do you make of this investigation right now at Brown University? A killer still on the run after just walking in a classroom, opening fire, killing students. How is it we have so little information? And the only video right now is the back of someone walking away from campus.
You know, I just think sometimes we ask the wrong questions, even of the president. Of course she does not know. If someone wants to kill you, we can get it right 1,000 times. They need to get it right once. The bottom line is, once you, and we've had these conversations, you begin to see this unfolding. Someone, just like what we saw in Australia, has attacked this person from whatever angle they can and take that gun away and do whatever is necessary. Rhode Island has the strictest gun laws in America, the strictest. And yet, you cannot keep guns out of the hands of people that want to kill. The bottom line, law enforcement as well as university officials, they're also vulnerable. Say whatever you want to say. The bottom line is that people in real time, when you see something like this happen, and people should have the ability to protect themselves. If you're responsible, if you have the training, you should have the right to carry a firearm that at least give you a chance to stop the rampage and destruction before kids are killed like animals by these savages. It's just that simple.
Yeah,
it is.
Speaking of which, you're talking about strict gun laws there in Rhode Island. Australia has some of the strictest in the world. Residents were mortified and disgusted at the police response to this terrorist attack where the gunman opened fire, and it was as if police didn't know what to do. I want to show you one post here on X of a resident. It states, nobody fired back, nothing, like they are frozen. 20 minutes, the guy changed magazines. This is the problem with an anti-firearm culture. You don't just disarm the citizenry, you weaken the police. Now it's the Muslims who are trained with firearms and not your fellow countrymen. Big problem, Australia. Fix it. You know, what's your thoughts even here in Australia? And what he is saying here is that you actually weaken the police when you do this as well.
They're afraid. In fact, sometimes more afraid than everyday citizens. They're weak. They're in a state of shock. I mean, did you see that footage? How people were just standing by being shot like they were animals by these savages. Did you just see it? They should have disarmed him long ago. But listen, it just shows you who these people are. This extreme Muslims, we don't want to call it out. We don't want to call out these radical Islamists. We don't want to change the laws. We don't want to say when they're threatening us online, we should arrest them as if they committed the crime. We go through this process, and then when you dehumanize them, go up, do a background story, turn it into a Netflix series, turn it into a documentary, and we feel sorry for them. But never about the victims. We're a culture where we don't give time to victims who suffer through this. We elevate these thugs, these savages, to heroic standards. Look at Louis Mangione. He said in the courtroom this last week, they're actually here rooting a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Wow. This is what he said in the courtroom. This is our culture now. This is what we celebrate. And it's insane. People need to understand, if you don't take your life in your own hands in your community, you will be slaughtered like animals.
Given what we saw with our own National Guardsmen attacked, how concerned, Armstrong, should we be here at home with what the FBI says are thousands of suspected terrorists who have been allowed in our country during the Biden administration?
They believe they can change the American way of life. They can place us in fear. These are targeted. Many of them are organized, whether it's the National Guard, whether it's Australia, whether what we saw at Rhode Island, they all have the same agenda. Slaughter people, show that they have no value, and watch law enforcement do nothing. Now, Donald Trump, give him credit. He's cracked down on crime. He's put out the National Guard. And we criticize this when we're trying to stop down on this crime. We criticize it and push back on it. No wonder they believe there's no accountability and responsibility.
Of that person of interest late last night led to renewed anxiety and criticism, too.
Yeah, the I-Team's Brian Crandall is here with new details on what led investigators to that person and why they ultimately let him go, Brian.
Well, Emily Patrice, on a national level, some critics of the Trump administration have blamed the FBI for what they say is hyping up taking that person into custody. Rhode Island's Attorney General has said there was evidence to do so. Now we know what that evidence was. Trying to get on the scent of the real killer who opened fire in a classroom at Brown's engineering building Saturday. Police officers and federal agents were all over the east side of Providence today, going door to door as they spot cameras they hope could provide a better image of the suspect. Searching a dumpster for possible evidence just down the street from the shooting and along the path the gunman is believed to have walked. While it looks like a renewed focus on finding clues, authorities claim they never stopped while they had a person of interest in custody. The wrong person, we came to find out late last night. That man was detained early Sunday morning at a hotel in Coventry, about a 20-minute drive from Providence. So what led investigators to him? I've learned from source information Providence police were contacted by another local police department that denied the man a gun permit a couple months ago. I'm told the person is a Brown student who had been staying at the hotel for a while. And I'm told investigators found 2 guns in their search of the room. They believed one of the guns was similar to the one they think was used in the shooting. As hours passed, though, local authorities stayed quiet on the man's identity and any other details, while the FBI director posted on social media how the feds helped track the man down, and his name was leaked to national outlets. But then ballistic and other testing came back. The gun from the hotel was not a match for the one used in the shooting.
He has been cleared. He is not a person of interest any longer. The investigation is now focused in another direction. But I want to clarify something the chief said. That doesn't mean that while part of the team was focused on him, other leads weren't being followed up on.
And while that person was released, my local sources say the evidence was worth following up on, even if it did turn out to be a dead end. The Attorney General there, though, was critical of that person's name being leaked to national media yesterday. I'm Brian Crandall, NBC 10 News.
Right now, the Brown University murderer is still on the run as police release chilling new videos of the suspect casing the building hours before he entered and opened fire, killing 2 students and injuring 9 others. Joining us this morning to discuss is retired FBI Special Agent in Charge and former head of the Chicago PD, Jody Weiss. Good morning to you, sir. We finally have some better videos, more details on the suspect, now described as 5'8". He's got a stocky build. Tell us more about these videos and also what has stood out to you in this investigation, including the press conference that they gave yesterday.
Yeah, Jan, those videos weren't really too helpful. I mean, other than perhaps showing the direction of the guy's travel and where he was at, and he does have a unique gait. I don't see how you're going to make an identification after that. But, you know, looking at that press conference yesterday, Jan, that was literally a mess to me. The first half of it, you had politicians complimenting the police. Great work. When I first listened to it, I thought they must have caught the guy. You know, why would you compliment law enforcement when the person is still at large? You do that after you catch the person.
Right.
And then when the chief is putting out those photographs, one of the reporters had to clarify, when did you get them? And he had the timeline completely messed up. But I thought one of the worst things happened. One of the reporters happened to say, could you give us a physical description of the guy? And the chief goes, go to our website, we'll have it up there. He had literally millions of people watching him at that time, millions. And you can't say 5'8", stocky build. That's all we've got. That was a pretty simple line to put out. But you do a press conference to get out information, but also to instill some confidence, you know, that law enforcement has their act together and that the public should feel safe. You think about Ed Davis at Boston, Rudy Giuliani at 9/11. You walked away from those conferences thinking, you know, these guys have it down. They've got their act together. But I think this case needs to be turned over to the state police or the FBI, like right now.
Well,
hopefully they're doing good stuff behind the scenes.
You talk about them having their act together, but they've already talked about somebody that they had in custody as a person of interest, and then they had to announce they released that person of interest. Why would they even announce that at all if they were not sure about why this arrest happened, who this person was?
Well, exactly. It's not uncommon to announce we're speaking to someone of interest. But it's very uncommon to identify the guy. Think what they did to this guy. They put his full name out in the public. And how do you retract that? It never should have happened like that.
Well, they claim they didn't. They claim somebody else did, and then you just like the toothpaste coming out of the tube, you can't put it back in kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what I did find interesting about this video was it told us a couple of things. It told us he was very intentional about that particular building, right? So he was targeting somebody in that building. But it also showed that he was casing the building, almost like he was trying to make sure he could visualize how he was going to get out, where he was going to go. And it also told us that police knew this, and so they've been tracking and sort of looking at him even before he entered. So they know when he entered, they know when he exited, and they know where he was hours before he entered, because that's where that video's from, correct?
Right, exactly.
So what's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's hard to know what was going through his head. Obviously, he's looking to make sure it's a soft target. Were there cameras up there? Were there any guards in the location? He's just as a bank robber would case a bank to see, is it an easy target? And clearly it was. Questions I have, Jan, is how did he get in? My understanding is all those doors you have to swipe your ID card. Did he have an ID card? Did he follow somebody in? And I know we've talked a little bit about, was he targeting someone? I have mixed feelings on that. Perhaps he was. But the fact that you had the 2 people killed, which were totally different backgrounds, and you had the other 9 individuals that were wounded, I don't know if there's a particular target. And why did he stop shooting? He may have just ran out of ammunition. We don't know at this point, but I'd love to hear from the other victims. How are they doing? What's their condition? And it's just been a gap of information that's come out of there, and we're just left to guess.
Do you see this being more like a Mangione situation where an astute person recognizes him based on this video, or more like a Charlie Kirk situation where the suspected assassin is recognized by someone, and that's when police are notified of who the suspect is?
Yeah, I don't know. From those videos, Jan, I don't see anybody making a positive ID. I do think they might recognize his gait. If I was involved in this investigation, I would be scouring the dark web, the deep web, going through there, because these guys always tend to talk, and there may be conversations going on there in some of these really dark places, and hopefully that can identify him. But that video and those faces, the pictures were pretty useless. So we'll just have to keep plugging away. Hopefully, I think the students might be one other good base of information to source and seek out. Kids usually know what's going on. Was this somebody they knew? I think there's a lot of questions we still have. Hopefully, these are all being worked on right now, but we don't know at this point.
Yeah. All right. Retired FBI Special Agent in Charge and former head of the Chicago PD, Jody Weiss. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
As memorials start to grow around campus, so does the concern the suspect is still out there roaming free.
Yeah, NBC 10's Molly Levine is live at the Barris and Holly building on campus where the shooting now took place more than 72 hours ago. Molly, what's the atmosphere like?
Well, Emily and Patrice, there's a sense of frustration not only from the students here at Brown University, but also Providence residents who live nearby. But not only Providence residents, those who live across the state. There was a Lincoln resident who came to place flowers and pay her respects today as caution tape still drapes around the building here, and memorials are continuing to show up and grow around campus. Placing flowers, sharing hugs, and shedding tears. It's all happening outside the Barris and Holly building at Brown University.
This is my first time back on campus since this happened.
As memorials grow across campus, so does the concern that the suspect who walked into the engineering building, shooting and killing 2 people, injuring 9 others on Saturday evening, remains at large.
This is senseless. It's unnecessary. 2 kids had to die for nothing, for living their life.
These are the newest images released from the FBI and Providence authorities. They're looking for the man dressed in black with a jacket that has an olive green bottom half to it. Authorities describe the man as 5'8" with a stocky build. They're hoping someone may recognize his clothing, how he walks, or how he puts his hands behind his back in this video. There's been an increased police presence around the city, and authorities were seen searching the area again this morning, looking for anything left behind, also knocking on doors in the surrounding neighborhoods, like Brook, John, Williams, and Hope Streets.
I think this is what they should do. Anything that they can do to apprehend this guy is, I think odds are on the table.
As we're nearing 4 days since the shooting.
I am disappointed that it's taking so long to find the suspect.
And nobody in custody.
The safety of these students were at risk, and how everybody's safety is at risk, and I think that's the truth. Like, this guy is out there somewhere. He's walking around. He could be standing next to you in the grocery store. We don't know.
And Providence police are now asking anybody who may have been in this building on Friday or Saturday to please email them and arrange an interview, as no tip is too small at this point. For now, I'm Molly Levine, live in Providence, NBC 10 News. Back to you guys.
I want to come back to your question about that name. And I know the name that you're asking about because a member of the media asked me about it. I am familiar with it. I wasn't familiar with it when the media member asked me about it. I think it was either CBS or NBC. I asked my team about it, and I think this is an area where caution is really necessary. There are lots of reasons why a page might be taken down, particularly if there's chatter out there about, to your question, Amanda, about words that were spoken. It's easy to jump from someone saying words that were spoken to what those words are, to a particular name that reflects a motive targeting a particular person. That's a really dangerous road to go down. Really dangerous. If that name meant anything to this investigation, we would be out looking for that person. We would let you know we were looking for that person. You know, again, I think it's just a really dangerous road to go down. I know that in today's age, there are lots of things that people read into things. It's just a dangerous thing to do. And I would leave it to us to identify persons of interest and let us run them down. What the public can do for us today is help us figure out who this guy is. And we hope to have more information out that will help you do that, help us do that.
You have a follow-up here.
I do.
Yeah.
Very quickly. It was further to my colleague's question, but you have answered most of it. But just in regards to the rumors that are circulating as well about the motive here, do you have any information regarding the rumors that a particular professor was being targeted?
Yeah, there's no information that the investigative team has about motive. Zero. There's nothing about, even if taking at face value what one or two witnesses may have said about what something was said, okay, and there are many witnesses that say nothing was said, there's nothing about what we know was perhaps said that indicates any kind of motive that is related at all to ethnicity or political outlook or culture. There's nothing at all that we know right now about that. And I think that is a dangerous road to go down, particularly in today's environment.
A major development and hopefully a major break in the case. And my colleague, Leanna Falk, is just across town at the Public Safety Building. And Leanna, you had a chance to go through this video piece by piece.
Yeah, Dan, and this video is giving investigators new urgency and new angles as far as where the suspect or this person of interest is and what they might be looking like. Now, they say that what this person or how they move could matter just as much as what they look like. New tonight, multiple angles tracing the steps of the person of interest.
Hiding in plain sight.
Providence police releasing their clearest views yet, captured mostly on home security cameras, walking, doubling back, and at times running across Providence's east side hours before the shooting.
That is the behavior that perpetrators will do with pre-attack surveillance.
Police now believe the individual, dressed in a two-toned black and green jacket, wearing a hat and face mask, was casing the area for hours, possibly days or weeks. Officials say the person was spotted as early as 10:30 Saturday morning.
His activity is very consistent with target surveillance, which then leads to target acquisition. And then from there, if he mobilizes in this case, which he did, he would carry out the attack.
The FBI's edited timeline shows the individual walking east on Manning Street just after 2 p.m. Saturday, turning south on Cooke, retracing steps on Benevolent, then running east toward Cooke again around 2:30. At one point, he's seen walking north on Cooke before quickly turning around, and a second individual follows. And after the shooting, minutes after 4, dashcam footage shows him passing a Providence police cruiser before turning onto Hope. His appearance consistent until just before 3, when he's spotted now wearing a crossbody satchel.
It's very important that, the bushes be checked, behind fencing, behind trash canisters, Any obscure place is equally as important.
Investigators now asking residents and businesses to rewind their cameras even further, at least a week back, and check for any familiar quirks or consistencies.
He puts his hands behind his back as he's processing. Those are all consistent behavior patterns that people could pick on.
Now, the FBI have described him as 5'8" with a stocky build. Police are urging anyone with video or tips to come forward, saying that one small detail could be the missing piece to crack this case open. Live in Providence, Leanna Falk, NBC 10 News.